Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Owen Talks Drum Corps. Guys, we hit 10 episodes. Let's go. We are already going up, bro. The drum corps season is over, but the podcast is not. We continue on week by week, giving you the best interviews in the drum corps world. You guys remember to follow the Instagram, that is Owen Talks Drum Corps. Subscribe on YouTube, that is Owen Does Band Things. And then follow on Spotify, that is also Owen Talks Drum Corps. My guest today is currently on the music education path at the University of North Texas. He is a former Colleyville Heritage High School band member. He marched with the Santa Clara Vanguard in 2022's production Finding Nirvana, and marched with Phantom Regiment in 2023's production Exogenesis, as well as 2024's production Mine. Please welcome my guest today, Gabe Ayers.
Hi, my name's Gabe. You can call me Gabe. I was told that I have a question for you guys today. He does have a question. So my question for you is, okay, would you rather be out of tune for the rest of your life, or would you rather be out of time for the rest of your life? And we're going to go on the assumption that the intonation, we're going to go a quarter step flat, and then that time, you're going to be an eighth note behind. So either way, you're kind of close. But you have to choose. So
we have to choose. Yeah. But yeah, guys, leave those comments down in the comment section down below, either on YouTube or on Spotify or even on the Instagram post. We would love to know. What's up, man? How was your summer?
It was really, really, really good. Definitely a busy one. There was a lot happening. If you, kept up with the season, it was eventful, to say the least.
Hey.
But it was really fantastic for so many different reasons.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. What was your favorite thing? Any locations, place you traveled to?
My favorite location. Okay, I kind of have two. First off, Enka, and I forget which one of the Carolinas it's in. It's either North or South Carolina, but straight up just so gorgeous, so gorgeous. It was right after San Antonio, so we were all like super pumped, and we had like 3 rehearsal days there. And it's just like in the mountains.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. We would getting off the bus and like taking your luggage up to the high school sucked. Terrible, awful. Because it's just like this hill that's like, 35 degrees, and you're just like hauling all your stuff up there. But like gorgeous, beautiful weather, except for the rain, but temperature-wise great. And then my other favorite spot was, Huntington, West Virginia. It was at a college, I forget which one, Marshall University.
Oh, nice.
And it was great. We had a show there, but we got to rehearse at the school, which was super fun because they had an indoor spot. And I will say it was mad humid, but that was without a doubt like our best rehearsal of the entire season. It was so fantastic. But it was that. And then also that was my birthday. So.
Oh yes, sir. Sponsored by the Ayer parents.
Yeah.
Dude, that's sick. That's really cool because obviously like for high school band and stuff, like you don't really get to travel as much, especially not out in the whole like U.S. and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing that a lot of people look forward to in drum corps now.
Yeah, you get to see like so many locations. I have a map. I need to update it from this year, but I have a pushpin map that my mom got me for Christmas last year, and a bunch of pushpins, and then like the classic little like red dots, and so you just kind of put them in there. And so I have all of the locations that I've done shows at, and it's like
nice.
It's crazy because I did West Coast and then I did East Coast these past 2 years, and so it's just it's cramped.
And wasn't Phantom one of the ones who traveled the most, or was the one who traveled?
I don't remember. I don't know the stats.
I think it's somewhere like in the top 5.
We had a couple shows that were like, it was really odd, like pathway because we did spring training in Kentucky, drove up to like Illinois and stuff and Indiana for a couple shows, then went up to like Wisconsin and like that area, like maybe Michigan, I think, I don't remember. Did that, and then we went back down to the Midwest, and so it was kind of like a little bit of a back and forth.
Yeah.
Whereas like we weren't like trucking it from the West Coast to the East Coast and then back, but it was like ping-ponging from like different spots in the Midwest for a while.
Well, that's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally love traveling. I don't do it a lot, but hey, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's really, really fun.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Is there any other cool stories you would like to share from this past season? Any memorable things? Any core memories?
I see what you did there. That's funny. Gosh, there's a lot of small stuff this season. I'm trying to think of any major specific ones. For me, it was just like this was a season with a lot of growth.
Oh, nice.
And especially this past year, I was on our leadership team, which was really fun. But getting to see that kind of from a different perspective was nice. Oh gosh, any core memories? Oh yeah, there was it was like our second or third week of spring training. We're in Kentucky, and that's not really known for the best weather, and especially that like chunk of time. I don't know why we were followed around by rain the entire season. It was brutal. We would like miss like a week of rehearsal, like between. Actually, this is a fun little tidbit. Between San Antonio and Atlanta, we had one rehearsal run through of our show.
Oh dang!
Like, cause that was all that we could have, cause we were rained out for so long.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of cores were.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, with the rain.
Yeah, it was at the whole like swamp tour area of like the Mississippi, Alabama, stuff like that, Tennessee. So a couple shows got rained out. Allentown, of course, got rained out. All right, gone but not forgotten. But yeah, that first chunk of spring training was kind of like our first hit because we had like a severe tornado warning, and it was like a big storm. Yeah.
I do actually remember seeing that because I forgot her name, but your drum major posted like a day by day. Yeah, she posted a day by day on YouTube, and like for a couple of days or like a day, it was like rained out and y'all were just inside chilling.
It was brutal. But there was one night where we finished rehearsal. And they were like, all right, tornado time. And we all just got in the basement of the dorm building that we were staying in. And it was packed, but it was so fun. It was a good time.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's insane. Yeah, I think I saw a clip, Will from Crown. He posted that. They were, like, chilling, like, also, like, somewhere. Like, just, like, all sitting there. And he was doing, like, a game plan.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was so funny.
It was so good, yeah.
I was like, that's what I would assume it would be like.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. Well, how was it getting to share such a positive show with the audience and getting such positive feedback from the audience?
It was so sick. It was really, really cool. It was like without a doubt my favorite show that I have marched. Two, I think the people, their favorite show that I've performed in, and so it didn't really I don't think hit until San Antonio, because you have like the smaller like Midwest shows and it's like they'll. Yay, go Phantom Regiment. But it's like, you don't really get it until you get in front of that big crowd. And San Antonio's a capital B big crowd. And so, we get to the close, we get to Fly or Die, like the end of that section. And they're like, oh, yeah, like that was really good. Shout out my homies Ben and Liam.
Yes, sir.
They're goated. But like getting to the closer and like we're kind of doing that in front of this big crowd for the first time. And like people are up. Yeah. For like the entire, like just straight up from the, from like the Moonlight Reprise hit until the end. It's like people are standing. And it's so cool. Like getting to watch also, and my parents were in a couple of the crowds and they would just film me and it's like, oh yeah, I get to see myself, whatever. And they would pan over and it's like just, they got one where it was like, as a standing ovation was happening and it was just like a wave of people. It was so cool. Like, not to, like, toot my own horn.
No, man, go ahead, bro. That's also, awesome.
It was exhilarating. And it was, like, for me, it was a little bit distracting when I was on the field. Because I'm, like, especially that first time in San Antonio, I'm, like, my drill was on the side, side 2, like, 20-yard line. And so I'm, like, horn up at box, like, angled in. And then I got to, like, get my eyes on hand somehow to make sure I'm, like, jazz running in time.
Yeah.
I'm, like, looking for our conductor's hands. And I'm like, people are standing up. They're happy.
Aww.
And then I'm like, oh, wait, but I gotta lock in, So it's really, really cool.
That's cool. Yeah. How do you manage the emotion of it? Like, how do you know to control your job, but also enjoy the performance and the emotion of it?
It's a bit tricky. It's something that you have to, like, learn to do for sure. For me, I don't get hit with a lot of it until after the show is done and we're like, oh, like horns down and everything. And it's like, oh, boom, I did a show that was really cool. That was a lot of fun. I bumped the table again. But the best way I think to do it is to just rehearse like you want to perform, which is, I mean, everybody says like, oh, rehearse like you perform or whatever, but like it is true. It's if you go into a rehearsal and if you do a full run or you do a chunk of like 2 sets and you're like, I'm just going to check the box, all of a sudden you put it in context and there's 10 billion other factors that are happening. There's, oh, I'm in the uniform now. Oh, there's a crowd now. Oh, people are like doing this now. Oh, I'm in a different listening environment. I have to play differently. No, you don't have to play differently. You do exactly what you do in rehearsal, and if you do that, then it's going to be consistent. And that also transfers over to, as staff members, like if you're looking at a drum corps that rehearses one way, performs one way in like your rehearsals and everything, and then all of a sudden you get to a competition, and they freak themselves out, and they're like, I'm performing, I have to play louder, and then you have people playing sharp, you have people cracking notes, you have people with timing issues that don't show up in rehearsal. If a problem happens in a performance but doesn't show up in rehearsal, 1, that's a sign that you're not performing the same way you rehearse. And 2, you're not going to be able to fix the problem if it's not happening in an environment when you can fix it. And so for me, like constantly bringing energy, constantly like, for me, I have a snapshot of crowds that I've loved. Like San Antonio crowd, awesome, fantastic. There's one crowd that I performed in front of in 22. It was like in the middle of nowhere, Virginia. And it was like a high school stadium, but it was with a bunch of people that like, they just love drum corps. And so we would do like the tiniest thing. We'd do like a horn snap and they'd be like, oh my God. And like, it was so cool. Cause like every little thing that we did got that kind of awesome reaction. And like, that's like ultimately what your goal is like, hey, can I do the simplest thing in the most excellent way possible and have that be the same effect as, you know, the most excellent thing, not as clean. Or the most excellent thing, super clean. And the closer that you can bridge those gaps on the details and the big moments, it's like, oh, okay, that's a cohesive performance. I just went on like a total tangent.
No, that's sick, dude.
Bring it back to the original point. Yeah, if you perform like with a goal of like, oh, I know what this crowd looks like. I know the reaction that I would want, and I know how to feed into that. It's like throwing newspaper into a fire without the actual fire being there. You still got to throw the newspaper in. That's a terrible analogy. That's really bad. It's okay. I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. But yeah, you just have to maintain that energy. And especially like at the doldrums of spring training when you haven't had a show yet, that can be hard because especially if you're a first year member, you don't have that snapshot in your brain. You don't have that thing to like draw on like, oh, this is what it feels like to perform in front of a crowd. But as soon as you get that, it's like,
you know.
Yeah, you know. Yeah.
Sick. Well, no, that's awesome advice, honestly. Yeah, like I always wonder, I was like, because obviously, like, I guess in high school marching band and stuff, and even like here in college, like there is those moments, but I know for a fact that they're not the same as like the big dogs.
Yeah, well, and like ultimately, like it's not that crazy different. Like the numbers are different too, but it's like if you're performing for a crowd, if you're performing for people, and also performing for yourself, you know, that it goes both ways. I mean, the energy is the same, the feeling is the same, and you can get that, you know, at any level of performance. Yeah,
that's true. That is true. Alrighty. Well, I wanted to ask, what was your favorite thing about the show Mind itself?
That's a good question.
I know, like, sometimes we think so much on, like, the moments and the memories, but it's show itself, like, any musical moments, any visual moments, or, like, behind the scenes of the actual show meaning, any of that. Like, what was your favorite thing about it?
Okay, so it was kind of in 6-ish chunks, right? There was the opening Moonlight hit, and there was a percussion feature called Surfacing, and then there was Equilibrium 1, which was like all the technical, like running around we called it the flick, which was because it was in the music, it was like notated. You know, we had like our letter names and whatever, and so it was the lick at letter F. So it was the F lick, so it was the flick. And then, oh gosh, we had that. We had like that whole chunk right there. And then we had like the ballad part of Equilibrium, which was the same source material, just different two chunks of the show. That's 1, 2, 4. Wait, no. Oh, there's kind of 7 chunks. There's 7 chunks. But after that, we would have Fly or Die, which I mean, yeah, goated. And then we would have, oh gosh, what was this piece called? Pillars 3, which is a percussion feature that led into the Moonlight Reprise. So that was kind of the structure of it. And it was really cool. There's a lot of like thought that went into the actual design, which, should I go on that tangent?
Yeah.
I should? Okay, cool. So each movement kind of like represented like a function of the mind. Shout out to my goat, Steven Estudillo, for explaining this to us. But the first movement, so all the props kind of like start in this big diamond. And then we have Josh Jones, my homie, in the front and center, our visual soloist, who also is at Pulse Percussion. He's awesome. He's so freaking cool. But he started in the center, and it was like essentially the opener was opening the mind. And so it was like, he's kind of like going crazy, and then like
go crazy, go stupid.
for lack of better terms. But then like all the cubes, or we called them portals, my bad, sorry. They were like a portal into the mind, and so the portals kind of opened up, and it was like delving into the mind. And then surfacing the percussion feature was kind of like spiraling down into the depths of the mind, and so it was kind of like, everything's going kind of topsy-turvy. And so that was really fun, because that was just really cool character work. And then Equilibrium Part 1 was like thoughts running through your mind, and that's where like there's a lot of the drill is like a lot of like small chunks like moving quickly and all this stuff, and then the Hucka Chucka, which was the I don't know why we ended up calling it that. JD just said it one day, and it was like, that's the Hucka Chucka, and that's what we called it for the rest of our lives. But that's like dun 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 dun, and it like layered in. Oh gosh, that was a nightmare to clean. I'll circle back to that, because that was the chunk that I was originally going to talk about when you asked this question. But where was I? Oh yeah, Equilibrium Part 1 was like thoughts running through your mind, so it was a lot about technical stuff. And then Equilibrium Part 2 was like intrusive thoughts, and so essentially like the horn line starts kind of like scattered, and then the portals like tumble over horn line members, and so it's like trapping the intrusive thoughts. Like some of the horn line members are like in the portals, like trying to get out.
Was that one of you them?
Yeah. I was in one of the portals, and the rest of the horn line is like picking them up and like taking these portals to like trap essentially all the intrusive thoughts and like have essentially peace of mind.
Okay.
And so that's what the hero is. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
And so that was a really fun moment for sure. Also so loud. I was really lucky. I was in the back, but I also had my friend Andrew Long standing directly behind me, which it was really funny, because he would just be like, I'm gonna crank. Like I'm just gonna just directly laser beam into the back of my head. He did. He was a loud guy. I'm not gonna lie. He could crank. But
and that was when y'all all came together. Correct?
Yeah, all came together. And so that's like, we've got all the intrusive thoughts, and it's kind of like peace of mind, and then you have the color guard moment, which is really cool moment. And then what was next? Oh, Fly or Die. Fly or Die was, we were told a couple of things about Fly or Die, but I think the most defined one was that it's kind of like the of two minds. Like you have like the angel and devil on your shoulder, and so that's why it's like a duet between Ben and Liam. It was like, it's like the two kind of like back and forth, which is really fun. That was a really fun movement. That was really cool. We did a lot of character stuff.
And the drill was amazing.
Drill was cool. The drill was really
insane.
Cool. It was, producing that was so fun, because it was just like, okay, we're going to do this character. And the way that it was described, or like Chunks was described to us, was like, you just want to like look like a cartoon. And so like we had, one of my friends was like tight roping like a yard line, like going backwards. We had a couple people just like that were told to just like, yeah, run a lap, like just go. Like I was one of those people where it was like I was on like the far side too, and he was like, you have so much space to just explore, just run, just book it. And so I did, and it was a great time. But it was really cool stuff. And then Pillars 3 and the Reprise were kind of like, losing your mind, going crazy. And so Flow Marching didn't show it, R.I.P. But Josh Jones, the visual soloist from the beginning, is back in one of the center props, like when we're all like, when the props are spinning, and he's in like the prop. It's like the pyramid thing.
Okay.
And he's like going crazy. And I mean, Flow Marching didn't show it. So. it's okay. But if you watch a high cam
Yeah.
or a head cam,
Yeah.
so you go.
Yeah, because I think I know what you're talking about. And again, I didn't see it in the multicam, but it wraps up the...
Yeah, and so it's like a nice, like, oh, everything's kind of cohesive. But that's the structure of the show. So back to the original
Welcome
question.
back, guys.
Yeah, because, oh gosh, I go on so many tangents. Favorite part of the show was, we call it the Haka Chukka. It was the beginning of Equilibrium 1. It was the dun 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 dun, and it would layer in, and oh my gosh, that was like pain. It was so difficult, and it doesn't read like a super difficult moment, but I think it's personally harder than like our brass feature, because the whole horn line is like super spread out, super spread out, and it's staggered entrances, and the way that it is set up is you're playing, it's essentially groupings of dotted quarter notes, but it's 2/8 notes and a quarter, 2/8 notes and a quarter, I keep saying quarter, 2/8 notes and an 1/8 note rest. I got it. And it's that pattern just staggered, but on quarter note entrances.
Oh.
And so there's a constant stream of 1/8 notes happening, but it's spread out across the horn line. And so you have to get that lined up. Second, you have to get it lined up across the field. Third, you have to get your entrance is like your beginning in time, because if you don't nail that first note, you're cooked.
Yeah.
Third, some of the hardest drill that I've marched, just straight up, like some of it was, I don't even know how. Like I had an easier chunk of it. Like we had some people that were like jazz running straight forward, straight back, like 5 to 5, and it's like they're playing this like super demanding part. And it's just like you just have to be so locked in on tempo, because you can't listen. Because if you listen to any of the other parts that are happening, you're gonna drag. And it's just like it was so difficult to clean. And there are a couple of recordings of it where like it locked in. It was great. Our finals recording was a little rough, I think, but it was real hard. It was real fun though, because I got to bag out the entire time, because I was in the back dudding. So I was just giving time the entire time, which was super fun for me, because I would just get like 2.5 hour, what I call dut blocks, where we would just clean the Haka Chukka, and I'd be in the very back of the form just dut, 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 dut. And like my voice was like shot by the end of it. Like I was cooked. But it was so fun, because I could just watch hands, and I could make sure I hit every single dot, and I could just be in time, and it was nice. But yeah, really, really hard chunk. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. No, I mean, I've always been like, even with like TV shows and like movies and stuff, like I've always loved the behind the scenes of it.
Yeah.
But like something with, like drum corps in a show, like I don't remember who we talked about with. I think it might have been Isaiah. Like just the production that goes into all of these things. Like there's so much thought behind characters, personalities, musical moments, movements, and just everything. Like it just links up so well together, and I guess shout out to the design team, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, our design team is killer. They're so good at their jobs. Like they'd come in, and like we'd be like struggling to like produce a moment or something, and like they'd have like one block, and with those production blocks, like you as a member have to be so flexible. The surfacing chunk of our show, the second movement. Oh gosh, it probably changed like 9 times, 10 times. And of course, like that's tricky stuff because we're handling these big, heavy props. I'm not even getting started on those.
Which one were better? Those are Exogenesis?
Oh, those are so much worse. Oh my gosh. Oh, they were so bad.
Really?
They were so bad.
Hey.
They were so cool because they were like so versatile.
Yeah.
Like, we used them in great ways. But 1, they were really heavy. 2, they were really heavy. And they were just like, they were tricky to move around. And I was on prop crew for the past 2 years, and they were something. So I got my hands on those props daily. But they were fun. But yeah, that choreography and like the counts for that changed like probably 9 times over the course of the season. And it's like, and every time it got better, but it was just like an experiment of like, hey, what can we do? And like the design team was like, hey, what can we do to make this the most cohesive show possible? And that's what I love about it, is like they're constantly like growing and improving on their ideas and taking what the members can do. Spooky. Taking what the members can do and like being like, okay, this works, this doesn't, this would look good. And so yeah, you just got to be like really everything kind of is like an ebb and flow, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool to see like the development of that over the course of the season.
Yeah, that's sick. No, it does. Shout out to all this. I mean, in general, like
it's
it's so like really, like you like as a audience member, you don't see or even think about everything that goes into it.
Yeah,
it's insane. But yeah, dude. Alrighty, well, I wanted to ask. I mean, you also did March, like I said earlier, Exogenesis.
Yeah.
How was that? How was your time during 2023?
That was a great year. I'm not gonna lie. I loved it. It was just culturally such a fun year. And it was really great because a lot of the people that marched that year at Phantom Regiment, it was my first year there. And so I was learning about the culture and everything, and it was great. There was definitely like a learning curve, but it was a lot of fun. But a lot of people that marched that show marched in 2021 and 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, like when you look at it, the people that joined Phantom Regiment in 2021, I mean, they were joining a 12th place drum corps. Like, they signed up for a 12th place drum corps, which is like fantastic, and that's so like awesome. But seeing the growth that has occurred in the organization that has taken it from there to, I mean, top 4 now. Like, there are some people that have truly seen that organization from the worst it's been to now what I think is going to be a great like chunk of time for the group. So culturally, it was killer because you have people that are there for the organization. You know, they're not there to get a ring. They're not there to, you know, I want to be the best ever, and I want to like win the Jim Ott and the captions, and I want to score a perfect 100, and that's fun. Yeah, winning is nice. I get it. But the people that were there for the staff. They were there for the membership. They were there for the culture and the experience, and that led to such a fulfilling season because ultimately, like, and this is a big thing that has been around since my time at Phantom Regiment and definitely before, is we don't just perform for a number. We don't perform for the judges. We perform for the people. Because you're picking between, hey, am I going to perform for the 6 people on the side of the field that are going to criticize everything that I do and find all the weak points, or am I going to perform for the 20,000 people in the crowd that are going to walk away being either impacted or not impacted by this show? And so for Exogenesis, it was, I mean, not the most technically demanding show. It wasn't the cleanest show in the world, but people like it. People really like it. And so like having that culture of, we want to be the Phantom Regiment, we want to be really good, we want to have a good time, we want to be a strong drum corps, and we want to impact people. And like, dude, Rachmaninoff, oh, that ballad, beautiful. I love it.
Awesome.
It's so great. Ben Stone, God, people love that trombone solo. If I have to see that clip one more time, I love you, Ben, but I fall asleep to, and it's like, it plagues me.
Like falling asleep in the high school gym, just like hearing it over and over and over.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, my favorite thing, I'm gonna talk about Ben for a little bit. He's awesome, super great guy. But we would be at like some like high school, like we had a day in not Rockford, Evansville. They'd have like a camp, and it's like, you know, if you go like look up Phantom Regiment Mind Evansville, we're all on like the yellow like minion shirts. Yeah. It's like that show. But like there's like a bunch of high school kids there because it's like a camp. It's a super fun experience camp. We get to hang out with them and have a great time. You know, they get to watch us rehearse. They get to play some stuff with us. It's so fun. But someone would be like, "Where's Ben Stone? I want to see Ben Stone." And I'm like, I get it. He's a good guy. But it's so funny that clip has just gone so. It's so well known. But it was a really good year.
That's one of those clips, and like definitely one of those moments where it's like, I say like it's in the Hall of Fame now. Like like people that don't even watch drum corps or like maybe not even marching band like are like, oh yeah, that guy played that really cool thing.
Yeah, I'll every once in a while I'll be scrolling through like Instagram Reels or something, and I'll find like an audio, and it's like it's the trombone solo, and it's like a random person. Just has completely unrelated content. And I'm just like, this is like such a bigger thing than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Which, like it's a really cool moment, but like I didn't when I first heard it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm gonna go back to playing my music. You know?
Yeah.
And so the fact that it caught on so much is like that's really cool. And that's also again a testament to our design team for like
because it fits. It was so well.
It was so well designed.
Yeah.
And like it was a show that I think ultimately was, hey, this is Phantom Regiment. This is what we're doing. This is kind of like the vibe that we want to give off. And so it was very like marketable of like, hey, we're back. We're gonna be heavy hitters. We're gonna put on a show that's entertaining, that's fun, and it got people talking about us again. Which I mean, coming out of the slump, is really nice. You know, you kind of need it, and then you get more people auditioning. It's really cool. So I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a great show. It accomplished exactly what it was meant to. And it's really fun to watch. Like going back on it, like it's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any cool memories from it?
Oh gosh, there's a lot. There's a lot of really good ones.
Sorry, I do have one question.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was you and one of your friends. Like y'all would post like an Instagram story. Like
I was
at the
just about
locations.
to talk about that. I was just about to talk about that. This is me and my like one of my best friends, Alex Salazar. He was actually one of the people that talked me into going to Phantom Regiment. Backstory: so I marched Vanguard in 22. They went kaput for a year. RIP. Gone for a year, but then they're back now. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where I should march. Because for me, I was like diehard Vanguard until I age out, you know. So I was like, I don't know what to do because I still wanted to march. And I was like talking to people and everything. And I was like, oh, what's the culture like here? What's the culture like here? And Phantom Regiment was kind of on my radar. And so I met this guy named Alex, who also goes to UNT, go Mean Green. And he was just like, yeah, this is boom, boom, boom. And so him and a guy named Jared Taylor were kind of the two people that talked me into going to Phantom Regiment. And so he was my seat partner. And every single housing site that we went to that year, and we did a little bit this year, but I was really bad about reposting them on Instagram because I was not very active. But every housing site, we would take a picture on the practice field that we had. And we would like label it, and I would do like some kind of like funny thing, and it'd be like find Gabe or whatever. Then we would post this, and it was so fun because like looking back on it now, I have a documented record of every single housing site, and I can go back and I can be like, oh, like this is where we had X rehearsal. This is where this happened. This is where our visual caption head got upset with me for not getting on the field fast enough. Yeah. And I'm like, man, now I know I got to get on the field fast. Yeah. And so it was just like, it's like cool to have that documentation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I loved Prop Crew in 23.
Yeah.
Prop Crew in 23 was one of the best things ever. It was like Stockholm Syndrome, you know, where it's like we would do EPL, because I was on loading crew. I think it's, A crew for life. If anybody does drum corps.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first off, don't do Prop Crew, but if you do, get on loading crew. It's so fun because you just get your hard hat and you decorate it and everything. But the people there were so fantastic. It was such a good group of people. We would just goof around and lift heavy equipment and wear hard hats, and we would race each other, and it would be really fun. But, you know, we would have like EPL, and loading the props was part of our EPL, and so that would take about 30 to 45 minutes. We got efficient at it. It started out pretty like a long process, but we got good at it. And so I would cut into our EPL time, and so you would have to pre-pack everything in the morning. You'd have to eat, load props, shower, get in uniform, be on the bus, and it'd be like a race. Like it's you against the clock. But like it was such a goofy time, because I mean it's just like a bunch of like teenagers lifting equipment and like throwing it in a semi truck. And it's like it's such a good time. So I was a big advocate of joining prop crew because it was fun.
Didn't you get injured at one point?
I did get injured.
I remember learning
that was it was. Yeah, this is a low point in my drum corps career. I've had one injury. No, that's not true. I've had one urgent care trip in all of my drum corps, and it was the day before DCI 10.
Oh my goodness.
And so we were in Crum, Texas, which is always really hot and really tiring. Because you're like right around San Antonio. You're like, I just want a regional, I just want a big show. And so we were in Crum, Texas, and we had just had a nap block because it was like too hot during the day. So they're like, hey, we're not going to rehearse like from, 12 to 5 or whatever. We're just going to go, like, let you guys rest up, take a nap, get rejuvenated, and then we're going to come back and rehearse for ensemble at night. And so I woke up, I walked to the food truck, I was kind of sleepy, and I got my food, and we were having, like, a trumpet section meeting, like, on the other side of the food truck. And so me being me, I was like, I'm going to be an efficient member, right? No time wasted in this drum corps. And so I was like, I'm going to take a shortcut. I'm going to duck underneath the semi-truck. So it's like, you know, like it's where like the cab hooks on into the semi-truck. So it's kind of like a little divot or whatever. And I was like, I'm just going to duck under that. I'm going to walk over there and I'm going to set myself down and I'm going to go to this meeting. Forget that I'm 5'11" and relatively tall and I'm tired. And so I have minimal coordination. So I stand up about a split second too early and I smack my head right there on the undercarriage of the semi-truck. And I'm like, ow, that kind of hurt. And then I keep walking. I'm like, it still kind of hurts. What's up with that? And I lift up my hat, and I touch my head, and I look down, and there's a lot of blood there. And I'm like, oh, whoopsies. And so I get to the trumpet meeting, and I'm like, hey, guys, can somebody grab medical? I'm bleeding a bit. And they all look at me, and they're like, because apparently I've gone, like, pale. Like so pale, which for me, that's big because if somebody notices that I'm more pale than usual, that's a big deal because I'm a redhead. I'm typically pretty pale. I don't tan that well. So it was like bad. And they were like, Gabe, sit down, stay here. And I was like, I think I'm fine, guys. I think I'll be okay.
Oh my God.
it was really bad. And so the guy comes over, our like med guy, shout out Eric, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna need stitches. And I'm like, okay. Because I'm starting to feel it at that point. I'm a little nauseous. And so they drive me over to the urgent care. And I call my mom. I'm like, hey, Mom, guess what? Funny story.
Funny story?
And that's how I open. Like, anytime it's like something bad happens, my gut instinct is like, hey, Mom, funny story. Like, my car got towed the other, like, last May. And I was like, you'll never guess. You'll never guess. Because this is like, I don't want to make a big deal out of it. Yeah. And so I'm like, hey, I'm on my way to urgent care. I'm going to get stitches. I actually ended up getting staples. I got 6 of them. Fun fact. And that was my injury of the season. But it's really funny because we were in Crum, Texas, which is about 25 minutes away from Denton. And so the closest urgent care that we could go to was on Teasley Lane, which if you know Denton, Texas, is right next to campus. And so we were driving to the urgent care, and I'm like holding a piece of gauze to my head, and I look out the window, and I'm like, oh, hey, there's my dorm room. Because we just go like straight through campus. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's Bruce, there's Eagle Landing, oh, hi Music Building, and it's like, it's so funny. And so we get to the urgent care, I do all my stuff, and I'm from Grapevine, Texas, which is 30 minutes south of Denton.
I was going to say
and my mom drove up,
and
she met me at the urgent care. She was like, hey, how are you doing? And I'm like, good. This is the first time I've seen her in like 2 months. And so it was really fun. And she was like, well, what are we going to do now? So I got my staples. And we went to In-N-Out Burger on University.
Hey!
When In-N-Out Burger on University. And then she was like, you should come back home and spend the night. Because I was like, I needed to go back to rehearsal, but I was like not going to be in for rehearsal that night, obviously. And I was like, no, I'm going to go back. I got to go back. Because I was like, I'm the type of guy that like, I hate missing rehearsal. Yeah. It drives me crazy. And so like, I went back and I like watched rehearsal. And for me, actually, that was, great segue, a fantastic memory for me of that season. Because that's been the only time that I've been able to watch the drum corps that I've been a part of. And so I showed up to full ensemble. And they're doing reps of everything, and I'm just standing on the sideline. And I'm like, I get to listen to my horn line. I get to watch my drum corps. And so I was very obviously not in rehearsal. So I got to sit in the stands, and I got to watch the full run through that night. And that was such a cool experience for me. Because, like, you never get... That's the one thing about drum corps, is you can perform in a show, but, like, the people that march Babylon never got to see Babylon. And I'm like, man, like, that sucks. Like, you can't... Like, you really can't win. So if you're trying to watch your own show, hit your head on a semi-truck, which I currently have an Owen 1 record with, apparently. Really devastating stuff.
How long were you up for?
I just missed rehearsal that night.
Oh, really?
And then I was in the next, because the next day was DCI Denton. And so I was like, I'm sure not missing my home show. Like, that would be devastating.
Yeah.
And so I was back in that next morning, and I was fine. It just hurt to shower a little bit because it was right on, like, my hairline. And so I'd be like, I'm going to wash my hair as gently as possible.
Ouch.
That's fine.
Yeah, I remember, because I remember Lauren's mom was like, yeah, so Gabe hit his head, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I was worried I was going to be, like, sent home, because I was like, I don't know if I'm concussed or anything.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I wasn't, apparently.
Good.
Fortunately, that I know of.
Yeah. Hey, it's another one of those things. I'm a big believer of everything happens for a reason. So,
yeah,
like,
for sure.
Okay, like, yes, that happened, but also, like, again,
exactly,
something you never get to do.
Yeah.
Like, even in Marchman and just, like, in anything. You just never get to actually watch the production you are a part of.
Yeah, and, like, having that perspective makes you, like, appreciate it so much more.
That's insane. That's really cool, man. Well, again, kind of like Mind. I don't know if you want to dive into it or not, but what was one of your favorite things of Exogenesis, its show?
Oh, our like jazz kind of moment there in that second movement where it's like the layered like parts. I don't know what it is with me and layered parts. I don't know. It scratches an itch in my brain. But yeah, second movement, there was like this jazz feature, and it was so cool. Because there was all this like character work like leading up into it. And, like, it was so much stuff where, like, you know, typically if you're performing to a crowd. Like, you're like, oh, you got to connect with the crowd. And for this moment, they were like, we just want to build energy on the field. And so there was a lot of choreography where we were, like, in a circle, like, facing each other. And so we did this, like, cool, like, undercurve thing, and, like, it was really sick. And we get to, like, read, like, each other's expressions and just, like, feed into that energy and, like, run into this feature that was, like, loud and jazzy and, like, energetic. Mm-hmm. And it was just such a cool moment to like be a part. It was so fun to perform for sure.
Nice,
yeah.
Dude, that's sick. Alrighty, well, we're almost running out of time here, but I did want to quickly ask about your time with SCV. How was that? Do you have any core memories? Anything?
There's a lot. That was an eventful season for sure. It was my first year of drum corps, so I had no idea what to expect. But it was a very, very unique season. In that, I mean, it was 2022, which was, I mean, already, like, you're getting back from COVID. It's a lot going on. There's a steep learning curve. 2, you had a lot of COVID protocols. So it was like if you got sick, you were kind of out for a week, which worked out for me because at Vanguard, they didn't take us with them on the road. It was kind of like, hey, you have COVID, find a hotel, and then you'll have to meet back up with us in a week. Which for a lot of people was like a kind of a lonely experience because it was like, oh, I'm alone in a hotel room for a week, and it's like, you know, the corps is off doing their thing, and it's like just that immediate like drop off of like, and I'm out, and I'm tapped out for a week. Fortunately for me, I got COVID right around the time that we were doing a show in Denver, and I mean first year of drum corps, I'm like a little homesick and everything, so I got COVID. And my parents had friends that had like an Airbnb or something in Denver. And so they were going to drive out to the show in Denver and stay at this Airbnb. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be so fun. And so I got COVID. I was going to be out for a week. And I was like, I need a place to stay. And so I called them. I'm like, hey, here's a scoop. Here's a deal. And they were like, okay, can you stay put for a couple more hours? We can just pick you up. And I was like, wait a minute. They were on the road to Denver that morning, like when I called. And they had all gotten COVID 3 weeks earlier. So they were all immune. And so I just got to hang out with my family for like 5 days. And it was so great. It was so fun. Because like I was homesick. I was kind of tired. Because, you know, your first season's always hard. It's always tough. So instead of having to stay in a hotel room by myself for a week, I got to go spend a week with my family. Yeah. And they were like, wow, you smell really bad. And I was like, yeah, I smell really bad. And they washed all my clothes and I felt clean. I got to take a shower that wasn't with everybody else. Like I was like living it up in this moment. And so it was really, really cool.
Plus it was at that point you hadn't gone to college yet, correct?
No, I was fresh out of high school.
So it was your first like
I was
alone time.
Yeah, and it was really cool because like for me that was part of why I enjoyed college so much is because I kind of got to have that learning experience of drum corps and like here's kind of a bit more. So you go to college and it's like the whole world is like doors open, you're free, But for me, it was like that would have been super overwhelming had I not done drum corps, where it's like, okay, I'm on my own, but I'm with this group of people at all times, and I don't have to worry about feeding myself. I don't have to worry about where I'm going each day. I just have to worry about taking care of myself and managing my own time, my own everything, doing my own laundry and all all that stuff. And so for me, that was just like a great stepping stone into college. And so that's why like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know if I should do drum corps right out of high school. And that's like a super valid concern, and it's like a personal thing. But I know for me, from my personal experience, it helped a lot. And it was really, really nice. But yeah, that's the scoop on that.
I guess that makes sense. Because, you were saying with, like, how you're starting to get homesick. I was like, oh, yeah. Because, like, in reality, I'm assuming that was your first moment where you kind of weren't with your family.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So
yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, dude. Well, I think finding Nirvana show, like, because I remember that was the first year you were kind of the reason I got into it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy now looking back, like where like everything's heading.
Yeah.
But it was you and Diego. But my first show that I watched was DCI McKinney, because we went to watch you. It was me, Aiden, Montgomery.
Yeah.
Diego.
That's how you guys with the signs.
Yeah, oh my god.
that was so funny.
It was so funny.
It was so awesome.
And Henson.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Lots and watching you. Actually, I think you weren't in Lots yet. I think you were in either Loading Crew or something. Yeah. And you were like, hey guys, and I was like, guys, Gabe is really orange right now. What the heck? I had never seen you like that, like sunburned and stuff, and I was like, oh, dang. And it was just a cool experience because before that I was just marching band. Yeah. And it wasn't until DC at McKinney where everything took off.
Yeah. That's really sick. Cool. It's cool to have a moment like that where it's like, oh, definitively, like I know this is kind of where like I got into drum corps.
What was your moment?
So my first time that I like paid attention to drum corps was, so our high school would do DCI finals watch parties, and I don't know if you guys, did you do that? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. When I was a freshman, we did it. When I was a sophomore, we did it, and then junior year didn't happen, and then when I was a senior, we didn't do it because it was like a DCI celebration. I was 21, and so freshman year, it was 2018, and so it was Babylon. Which was
dang, that's so weird. It feels like Babylon was such a long time ago, but in reality it's like right there.
Yeah, and so like I'm looking back on it, I'm like, dude, and like part of me feels old because of like a lot of our staff at Phantom like marched Babylon, and so it's super cool because I'm like, oh, you are just super cool show, and then I'm like, oh wait, they're just people. They also do what I do. But for me, watching Babylon was like that's the first show where I was like, this is sick. This is like I want to do that. And so, of course, I wasn't, the path that I got to get to the course that I ended up at was so odd. It's so odd.
I've never heard, like, the exact thing, but I've heard, I think, what it is.
Yeah, so I was...
Was it because of the flugel? Or
the
spark in general?
It's a process.
It's a thing?
So I was a diehard Bluecoats fanboy from freshman year to senior year of my high school experience. Part of that was because one of our band directors, Mr. Dougie, he was on Bluecoats staff, and so I kind of like went on that spiral. Which love their shows; they're awesome. But I ended up not marching there, obviously, because senior year I was like, my game plan was really, funnily enough, I was like, I'm gonna march 1 year at Phantom Regiment and get experience. Again, this is aged hilariously. I'm going to march 1 year at Phantom Regiment, get experience, then I'm going to go to Bluecoats. And I'm going to, spend 3 years there or whatever. And that was kind of my game plan. And then we did state and stuff, and one of our band directors knew some of the brass staff at Vanguard. And they're like, hey, you should send this kid to come audition at Vanguard. And so I talked to my band directors, and they're like, you should go audition. And I ended up auditioning at Vanguard. I submitted a video audition for Phantom Regiment still, which is really funny because I can look back on it because I got a callback, but I didn't go to the callback camp because I got a contract at Vanguard. So I could have marched 22, but I didn't. And so I went to Vanguard, and I just loved that culture. I think the staff is what got me. And funnily enough, all the Vish staff that was there at that camp is now at Phantom Regiment, which is hilarious. But it was just like a really welcoming environment. It was super friendly, and I loved it. And so I did that whole audition process, and it was great. I loved all the people there, loved all the staff, and it was super fun. And then Vanguard kicked the bucket for a year, and I was like, oh no, I don't know what to do. But then a lot of the staff that was at Vanguard when I started out there, and that preseason, ended up being at Phantom Regiment. So I was like, I know this staff, I know they're trustworthy, I know they're good people. I should look into that, and especially because I really like their 22 show. And so I reached out to some Phantom people and I talked to them. And I was originally like, okay, I'm going to go to Phantom for a year and then I'm going to go back to Vanguard. And then that didn't end up happening because I loved it at Phantom Regiment so much. And I was like, this is where I want to be. And which is a great testament to, I showed up at Phantom and there were a whole bunch of Vanguard people that were with me. And it was really cool to see us all kind of like be welcomed into this family of like, hey, we know that you came from somewhere else. We know that it's like a different culture. You're not used to it. This isn't exactly what you pictured. But everybody was so welcoming and so willing to be like, hey, this is what it's like here. Like, how was your time at Vanguard? Like, they wanted to know our experiences and they wanted to introduce us to theirs. And so going into it, it was kind of like this is like a very people-first organization. And through that, through that organization helping me get, process all the stuff with Vanguard, I was just like, oh, this is it. This is fantastic. So I did not go back to Vanguard because I'm like, I hate Santa Clara. I was contracted for the 23 season. I was all in, chips on the table. And it just worked out that I found a spot that was just very clearly was where I need to be. Which is super cool.
Yeah, so, dude. Yeah. That's awesome. Alrighty, well, as we wrap up this episode, guys, I did want to ask very quickly, what's one thing you're looking forward to this upcoming season? And is there any advice you would like to give to anyone looking to join the drum corps world?
Yeah, so for this upcoming season, mine was, I think, kind of a test of us and of our membership and of our direction, what we were capable of, which is really cool because we handled it really well. And so, our design team is some of the best in the business. It's J.D. Shaw, it's Steven Estudio, it's Tony Hall, and it's just people that have crafted these amazing moments in drum corps. And now that we kind of have a tangible proof of, hey, we can handle it. We can do the big stuff. We can do hard stuff. It doesn't have to just be fun little moments. It can be real heavy hitting content. And we have their trust on that now. For sure, without a doubt. And so I know they're going to be cooking up something really special, which is I'm super excited for.
Something legendary?
Yeah, you could say that hypothetically, which is super fun. And then for people wanting to audition for drum corps, just go all in. Just really immerse yourself in the experience, because a lot of these drum corps, it's very easy to get stuck in your head of, I'm doing this because I want to audition and I want to make a spot and check the box and get a contract and everything. Realistically, you're going to go to a camp and you're going to meet people and you're going to meet staff and you're going to find, things that you do at the camp that you're like, this is awesome and I love it. And you're going to find things at the camp that you're like, I wasn't a huge fan of this. And so ultimately, I know for me, I went into a couple camps thinking, when I was first auditioning, I expect this, and I want this, and I would go into a camp, and it's not what I was expecting. And so going into everything, going into your auditions, yes, you're auditioning for the corps, but also the corps is kind of auditioning for you, in the sense of go in there and take a picture of the experience. What do you have fun? Do you have a good time? Does the staff make you feel welcome? Do they treat you with respect? Are the people there welcoming? Is this going to be a good fit for you? Because for me, I ended up, like I said, I was a Blue Coats fanboy. I ended up going to a Blue Coats camp, and I have a lot of friends that march there. They're awesome. They're fantastic people. But I went there and I was like, okay, I don't think this is my drum corps home. And that's just, it's not anything bad about me. It's not anything bad about the organization. It's just a style of teaching and a style of performing and a style of, it's a culture, essentially what you're buying into. And so if you go to a camp and you love it and you think it's fantastic, like that's awesome. Go all in. But if you go to a camp and you're like, I just don't know about this. Don't put yourself in a situation in a corps where you aren't the right fit and where the corps isn't the right fit for you. And it's okay to be like, man, this wasn't what I expected. I'm going to go try somewhere else. Because like for me, I didn't end up where I was expecting, but it's without a doubt the right spot for me. And so going into an audition with a sense of not just being there for playing all the right notes and hitting all the dots, but to dive into the culture and the membership experience and see, hey, do I enjoy this? Is this the place for me? And two, if you sink yourself into that culture and you get to know members, you get to know staff, one, that's going to be like brownie points for you because the staff is going to see, oh, this guy fits, this person fits, and they fit in the drum corps and they add to it culturally. And that's going to be something that, is beyond, did they crack a note, So it's just as equally about the experience as it is about the audition. Yeah. That's my 2 cents about audition camp.
That's awesome. That's cool, man. It's cool to see everyone's different perspective on it because, there's some people that focus more on the musicality aspect of it. There's people that focus visual, and there's some people that focus more on the relationships and stuff like that. It's always so cool to see because at the end of the day, you kind of have to do a little bit of all.
Yeah, you got to be the jack of all trades,
Yeah. Alrighty, man. Well, last question.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a shout out to anyone that has supported you through these past couple of years with your marching band and drum corps experience?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. There's a whole lot. Oh, gosh. I got to shout out to my seat partner, Alex Salazar, who just this summer learned that I was taller than him.
Oh.
And so I lied to him that I was 5'9". I'm not 5'9". And then he bought it. And it took him I told him at like midnight on the bus, I was like, by the way, I'm 5'11". He was like, I knew it! It was so funny. So shout out Alex. He also gaslights me all the time. It's a mutual thing. My parents obviously are goats. They're awesome.
I love your parents.
Yeah, my parents are great.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're so supportive, and they come to all my shows, or not all of them, obviously. But like, all the ones that they can come to, they do. And so fantastic. And then also special shout out to Lauren Drislane, who is our visual movement instructor, who has been on staff with me, or not with me, but she's been on the staff at the corps that I'm marching with every summer that I've been there. So she was a Vanguard in 22, Phantom 23, Phantom 24. And I could not dance for the life of me when I started. It was really bad. It was really, really bad.
I feel like I remember seeing you
back
in high school, running it up.
Yeah, and it was not good. I had to do a sit roll for my audition, and it was the most janky
sit rolls.
Sit rolls. Oh man, they're so hard for no reason. But she taught me so much about everything that I know about movement, and so it's that aspect of my drum corps and a lot of my philosophy on teaching and education and building a culture comes from her. So she's awesome. Shout out Lauren.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Well, we'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for watching and tuning back in for episode 10. Again, the drum corps season is over, but the podcast is not. But anyways, you guys remember to follow on Instagram. That is Owen Talks Drum Corps. Subscribe on YouTube. That is Owen Does Band Things. Again, answer that question we said at the beginning. I'm very curious to see what y'all's thoughts are on that. And then also follow on Spotify. That is also Owen Talks Drum Corps. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Sweet, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was good. I have no idea if I talked too much, which I guess is a dumb question for a podcast.
You're fine. I just saw the clock running and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's totally fine.